Hey YouTube, this is my 2010 GXL Prado. I've got an issue at the moment where I got wet about 4 weeks ago, and just this week when starting the car there's a very long delay between clicking the start button and the car actually then turning over. You hear a solenoid click and then there's about a full second delay, then the car eventually starts. Now the other day too I got some warning lights. I got the check engine as well as traction control and fall low. Some internet posts then suggest that this is going to be a starter problem. Now my starter is obviously just there, but the first thing I want to check is the alternator. So look, all I've done is put the voltmeter on the battery. When idling I'm getting 13.9 volts, so I know, well I hope it's not the alternator anyway. So what I'm going to do today is take my starter motor and clean it, and hopefully I can show you guys how to do it too, because I couldn't find anything on the internet myself. So here we go. First thing you need to do is, well, I am going to take the wheel off, but these little clips here, I just wanted to point out, they've got a like a two-way sort of lip on them, and they do come out quite easily if you just jimmy them a little bit, and then I use some pincer pliers to pull them out, and that's how I did that. I did, however, break one on this side, so you know, I don't know how to do it, but that's how I did it anyway. Now, I have just taken those two clips off before taking the wheel off, just to show that you can access the starter motor. Apparently on manuals, there's a clutch cylinder in the way there, but this should be relatively easy to get to. I am going to take the wheel off just so I can get that little bit closer as well, and putting it up on jack stands, if I can get a bit more clearance away from the actual wheel, that'd be good as well. Rightio, battery disconnected. We've got the wire off. And according to the internet, we are going to undo this bolt and nut, and this nut up here. Now this nut doesn't have a bolt behind it because the bolt is actually attached to the starter motor body. And if you actually Google your starter motor, you'll see pictures of it where you can actually see what I'm talking about right here. So I'm just going to take these two off and that should be it. All right, the starter is out. Looks okay, I guess. That particular nut up in there was extremely difficult to deal with. Both of them were quite stubborn, but I guess the only advice I've got for you is lubricate and keep trying. I think what did it for me in the end was I was able to move my jack stand so I could actually get in there and hang off that spanner up the top there. The bottom one, a breaker bar, was good, but that top one, very limited space to get behind it. So it's out now. Let's go take it apart. Right, so before I take this thing apart, I'm going to give it a good clean just so I don't get any shit in there when I actually open it up. I don't know what I'm expecting to find in here, but I'm guessing it's going to be dirt on the solenoid. That's probably going to explain the long start times I've been getting and the low voltage errors that it throws, because it's basically using too much power, I guess, to bridge that gap. I'm guessing that there was a 4-week delay with it, maybe because it was full of water up until it dried out and left all the mud behind. So let's open it up, see what happens. Right, two 10mm bolts on the top. Remove the cable with a 12mm, and before I investigate, I'm seeing a lot of black crap, probably burnt bushy stuff. Some water in there as well. I'm hoping that's what the problem's going to be, but we'll dig deeper. Right, so the motor doesn't look too bad, and I actually don't want to take it apart too much more because, look, I know the motor starts. What I'm concerned about with is the solenoid. Now, there is, I mean, this vehicle's 200,000 Ks old, so I'm not sure what's good and bad here, but you can see that terminal there has got quite a bit of rust on, and that's when it's sitting upright in the vehicle. That's the one that's sort of on the bottom. So I guess I'm just going to clean all this out as best I can and see if that works, and if not, just buy a whole new setup. Right, so just curious about what was on the other side of the solenoid. Got some sort of motor body here. I'm glad I took it off though. You can see that it's full of crap. That's obviously my problem. So this happened from sitting in a bog for about 20 minutes. You know, flooded the footwells and all that kind of thing, but obviously the starter motors and solenoid housing has got a lot of water in it. So I'm going to do my best to clean this up. By the way, these things quite stubborn. So impact driver was the way to go there. So yeah, really quite dirty and messy in there. Showed you that before. I'm just going to do my best to clean all this up, wipe it down, get rid of the gunk, and if there's any rust, I'm going to try and brush it clean. One of the big things I want to focus on is cleaning that terminal. I mean, it just looks really quite wrong when you look at it compared to the other one, which is the one that sits on top, which hasn't been in the water. So I will take that apart and try and grind it down with the Dremel and brush it with the Dremel, see how it can go. All right, so that was very easy to take apart, and I've found the problem. So now I've got a lot of confidence in this job. Basically, and this is hard to do with just the two hands I've got here, but when this is sitting down like that one is under there, that's what's making contact with the actual solenoid. Now that's dirty, corroded, all the rest of it. That's definitely the issue. So I'm very confident at this stage. I'm just going to polish up, like I said, put all the back together. I will do what I can about getting rid of some of that rust. I won't pay that much attention to it. I'll just get rid of the water and the crummy bits, but then I'll be quite happy. Quick progress shot. So as you can see here, this is the underside of the solenoid. Clean, filthy. And that's the bit that was facing down, so obviously water damage there. Like this, you can see how that's all nice and clean, and so is that, so huge difference. Right, so there we go. That's all put back together now. Now, pretty simple, put back together. I'm actually very confident this is going to work because of what I saw inside here. The motor was actually fine. Yes, it had a lot of, I guess, motor dust in it, but I just blew that away with the air compressor. The motor didn't look water damaged at all. So I'm confident that that dirty bit that that had the corrosion in is the cause of the issue. But I guess more to the point of the cause, these bloody breather tubes here are not any good for water. So like I said, I was sitting in that bog for about 20 minutes or so. I have been to, you know, plenty of river crossings and all that kind of thing, but I was stuck in this bog. So I'm guessing that little bit of water's got in, but maybe also this is water from other four-wheel drive trips as well. Right, just one more bit before I go. I've put everything back together. It's worth mentioning that I did put a thin line of grease over everything that sort of connects back together just to make things a little bit more waterproof. And rightly or wrongly, I did put some Loctite on all the bolts when I've put everything back together as well. I just wanted to say though that the way this starter motor sounds now is much more powerful than it did sound before. So I think when I got wet about a month ago, whilst that might have been the final straw for this actual motor, it must have been struggling for a long time. So I'm going to press the start button now. I don't know how well you'll be able to hear it, but once I do, that's it from me. So thanks again. Much more powerful there.